Cahokia, one of the first cities in North America. Cahokia was the largest pre-Columbian city in North America, and at its peak, the metropolis near modern-day St. Louis was bigger than what London is today. Cahokia was the city that, at its peak from 1050 to 1200 AD, was larger than many European cities, including London. The city was spread out over 6 square miles, that's 16 square kilometers, encompassing at least 120 mounds, and had a population of 10 to 20,000 people. Located across the Mississippi River from modern-day St. Louis, Cahokia was the largest pre-Columbian city north of Mexico. The inhabitants of Cahokia did not use a writing system, and researchers today rely heavily on archaeology to interpret this. The name of the people who built the mounds is lost to time, so the city was named for Cahokia indigenous people who lived in the area during the 17th century, but who are not related to its original inhabitants, according to the Oklahoma Historical Society. Cultural finds from the city include evidence of the popular game called Chuckney and a caffeine-loaded drink. Artistic finds include stone tablets carved with images such as the Birdman, as well as evidence of sophisticated copper working, including jewelry and headdresses. The city's growth may have been aided by warmer temperatures. At the time Cahokia flourished, temperatures across the planet were unusually warm, resulting in increased rainfall in the American Midwest. Archaeologists Timothy Pocketot and Suzanne Alt wrote in the article of the book Medieval Mississippians, the Cahokian World. School for Advanced Research Press, 2015. An increase in average yearly precipitation accompanied the warmer weather, permitting maize farming to thrive, Pocketot and Alt wrote. Why did Cahokia fall? Cahokia declined after 1200, around the time of a flood, and was abandoned by 1400. It's unclear why the city fell, but one idea was that its residents left after a prolonged drought caused a massive crop failure. However, in 2024 study in the journal The Holocene debunked this idea by looking at historical carbon isotopes in the soil, or carbon atoms that have a different number of neutrons in their nuclei. The carbon isotopes revealed that the plants at Cahokia stayed consistent even through the drought. We saw no evidence that prairie grasses were taking over, which we would expect in a scenario where widespread crop failure was occurring, study co-author Natalie Muller said, an assistant professor of archaeology at Washington State University in St. Louis. It's likely that the people of Cahokia had engineering or irrigation skills to survive the drought, the researchers said. The city likely had a storage system for grains, and the people probably ate fish, birds, deer, bear, and forest fruits and nuts, Muller said. Much of the city lies buried under the 19th and 20th century developments, including a highway and the city of St. Louis. Over the past few decades, there have been efforts to preserve the remains, and Cahokia's core is now part of a state historical site. The Cahokia Mound and Monk's Mound. The best example of architecture at Cahokia is the 100-foot tall Monk's Mound, so named because a group of Trappist monks lived there near it in the historical times. The mound, which towered over the city, was built with 4 terraces and covered about 17 acres at its base. Archaeologists have found giant post holes at the top, indicating that there may have been a temple there, presumably made of wood, measuring 104 feet by 48 feet. The post holes are over 3 feet in diameter, and the building would have been about 50 feet tall. Monk's Mound, along with the Grand Plaza and group of smaller mounds, was walled in with a 2-mile-long wooden palisade. As many as 20,000 wooden posts were used to construct it. Wood hedge at Cahokia. To the west of Monk's Mound is a series of 5 circles, each originally made of red cedar wood posts and constructed at different times between 900 and 1100 AD. They vary in size from 12 to 60 posts, and the latest one is the smallest. Archaeologists refer to these structures as Woodhedge, and a reconstruction of it was made in 1985. These posts likely would have served as a calendar to mark the solstices, equinoxes, and festivals that were important to the inhabitants. A priest could have stood on a platform in the middle. The sunrise during the equinox, when it rises to the east, is said to be particularly spectacular from this spot. A post aligns with the front of Monk's Mound, and the massive structures look like it gives birth to the sun, according to a modern account recorded in the Cahokia Mounds State Historical Site. Human sacrifices also at Cahokia. Mound 72 is a 10-foot high structure located less than half a mile south of Monk's Mound, and it dates between 1050 and 1150 and holds the remains of 272 people, many of whom were supposedly sacrificed. A large number of sacrificial victims were found north of Mexico. The mound's archaeology is complicated, but several instances of this sacrifice can be inferred. Now, in another episode, 52 malnourished women between the ages of 18 and 23 appeared to have been sacrificed at the same time. Now, the cosmology at Cahokia. The absence of written records make it difficult for researchers to understand the religious and spiritual beliefs of Cahokia's residents. However, new evidence suggests that the central Cahokia precinct was designated to align with calendrical and cosmological reference, sun, moon, earth, water, and the netherworld, archaeologists wrote in a 2017 study. For instance, a place that archaeologists called the Emerald Acropolis marks the beginning of a processional route that leads to central Cahokia. At least 12 mounds and the remains of wooden buildings, some of which were likely used as shrines, have been identified as this acropolis. The archaeologist wrote in the journal article, noting that the mounds and wooden buildings have lunar alignments. And additionally, water may have played a role in the rituals performed at the acropolis. Some of the buildings were ritually closed with water redeposited silts put over them, the archaeologist wrote, and in a few cases mats or hides were burned inside the buildings, and then silt was poured over them. A burial of an infant was found in one of the buildings. Chunky, Cahokia supported a rich variety of art and cultural activities, including a widely popular game called Chunky. Archaeologists are not sure of the exact rules during Cahokia's peak. Accounts of the game in the 18th and 19th century tell of a stone disc called Chunky Stone that would be rolled on a playing field. People would throw giant sticks larger than themselves at it, trying to land them as close to the stone as possible. Points would be given depending on how close they are. Gambling on the outcome of this game was common, according to 18th and 19th century writers. Now, additional resources. You can learn more about the Cahokia Mounds State Historic Site there. United Nations added to its UNESCO World Heritage List. Dive into the big history of Cahokia at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. This is by Owen Jarris on Life Science. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.